Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite host, Tim and Tim. Unfortunately, Tim Vest is on a flight right now, and he is unable to join us. He's flying to New York City in order to do some business meetings for Tim and I. I am super excited. This has been the first Facebook Live that I've done since we had our baby girl at the beginning of January. So I'm really excited to be back and start doing some of these Facebook Lives again. I know Tim Vest has been kind of picking up the slack and doing some interviews and things. And I'm back, baby, and it feels good. I'm back in the saddle, as they say. So today I got a really fun guest. This is my buddy Josh Harms. He's actually one of the first people that joined our Making Moves in Multifamily coaching group. But Josh and I can sit here and have a conversation for hours and hours and hours. He's just like an amazing guy. He's a pilot. If you didn't know, if you follow him on Facebook, he's always talking about what plane he's going to buy, and he's flying around all over the place. But he is from just outside of Evansville, Indiana, and he invests in his rural small town. And everybody talks about how, population growth, job growth, this, that, and the other thing is like the most important metrics for investing. And while I'll agree that there is importance in those metrics, it's not only the only metric, and you can still be successful in smaller markets. Josh Harms is a beautiful example of this. He is a master of creative financing. I mean, I even learned things from him. I mean, it's incredible. We can go on for hours about how he's creatively structured deals, and he just thinks outside of the box, man. He's like, what is a box? I don't even know. But Josh, why don't you give yourself a little intro real quick? I know that you have about 100 doors, blend of apartments and residential. You also have like 600 or so self-storage units and also a handful of triple net retail commercial locations. So you don't just specialize in apartments or residential or triple net or self-storage or whatever. You kind of little dabble all over the place. And part of that's because of your market and how you've been able to kind of leverage your other businesses. I know you were a contractor and you had a roofing company, and like I want to go into all of that stuff today because I think it's super creative. I think it's important to have an understanding of how other ways you can be successful in real estate without having to do the traditional steps that everyone kind of thinks about nowadays. So Josh, welcome, man. I know I just threw a lot out there, but man, you're a big dude, man. You gotta live it up.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you guys, Tim and Tim. I mean, probably 2 years ago, I guess, when you guys started the coaching program, I was kind of like stuck, kind of a plateau. I had a mental block, I guess I'm going to say. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do? Everybody's buying all these big places and big towns. And I live in a town of 5,000 people, man. I mean, I own probably 50% of the rental market here. And, and we have to, our market is, I'm going to say an hour and 15 minutes around where we live, because for us, we have to drive to some of those places. Right. So, I guess back in 2015 is when I bought my first, I shouldn't say first, 2002, I started in investing in real estate. I was young. There wasn't no such thing as investment coaches and all that stuff. I mean, you bought some CDs and a booklet, and you're like, hey, look, let's go to a conference someplace. And Larry Goins, actually out of Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah. I mean, it was like bare, you had to actually get into the deep of listening, popping in different CDs, stage 2 of investing,
Insert disc 3 now.
Exactly. So, I in 2002, I did that, and everybody knows what happens in 08 and 09. And so we kind of took a break, I guess, after 08, 09. And if I would have known what I know now, which is I should have bought a ton of stuff at that time, I stopped buying because I was scared. I was like, okay, this is crazy. Things had happened. Banks had tightened up. I didn't know nothing about raising money or investors or anything like that. And so 2015, I bought my first apartment complex creatively. And then after that, it just kind of grew from there. And it's been a slow process for us. But in our market, we don't have third-party property managers. We don't have a lot of contractors. We don't have all that stuff. So I built all that stuff out as I built it. And that's kind of what I've done. And I was a contractor first. In 09, I started a contracting business, and we built that up. And 21, we had 18 guys working for us. We're building Subways and Pizza Huts and tractor supply companies and things like that. But we were integrating that with our real estate business that we had. and it was working out great. And now I've made the switch, and I'm 100% investing. We're down to three maintenance guys that work with us full time. The labor force got a lot harder. Material costs rose quickly. And just like anything else, I mean, things just changed and changed in me. And I had that mental block with you guys, and you got me over that hump, and we just hit the ground running, and we just kept on buying. So
All we did was ask questions.
you asked questions, but it just changed because I was so stuck in what I thought. And whenever I heard a different perspective or different point of view, it just opened up and just changed the way I thought about things. And you know, I always thought that the traditional way was go to the bank, have 20% down, blah blah blah, all that stuff, and that's not the case. I mean, so we got really creative, and we just started buying stuff that I mean, we haven't put any money. I shouldn't say any money. We put very, very little money in the last 3 years in any deal that we've purchased.
Yeah, no, I love it. And one of the things I always use this as an example, so your ears might tingle every now and then. It's because I'm talking about you again. But I always used to, I love to use the example of how when you owned your roofing business, that's how you would get leads.
That's correct.
And it was like, I was like, man, Josh, he figured it out. He's like, how am I going to buy these properties? Well, I'm going to start a roofing business, and then when somebody calls me for a roofing job, that is a very painful, stressful thing to go through. And, a lot of times the guys don't have the money or don't want to invest the money. And you found them at, they always say right place, right time. Well, if you own a roofing company and you're doing a roof on a building that needs to be done, or somebody contacted you about it, that's probably the right place and the right time to ask them, well,
Absolutely.
hey, would you be interested in selling it instead of just repairing the roof? And man, Josh, I know that you got a couple examples in there where you're just like, well, this guy called me. He wanted a roof replaced. I asked him if he wanted to sell it. He said yes. He 100% seller financed it to me, and all I had to do was pay for the roof, which you did at cost.
Absolutely. Yes. And we actually still do that today. I mean, we
Yeah.
just bought a duplex actually this month. We close on it. Same thing. I mean, tired landlord, went over there, looked at a job, and I said, what are you going to do with this? And he's like, I have no clue. He said, I really don't want to deal with it at all. And I'm like, okay.
Bing,
Then,
bing, 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 bing.
yeah.
Opportunity.
So we bought a duplex making $1,000 a month for $30,000. So, I mean, why
You
not?
get your money back in 2 years, two
Why
and a
not?
half.
And so the thing about it is we know that we can raise rents, we know we can fix it up, we know, and it's guaranteed work for my guys too, right? So it's something that we can get in there and bring in and say, okay, hey, look, now we can bring this guy in, and we already have guaranteed work for the next 2 months for my maintenance crew, and it's just there's no. I mean, we can borrow the money from the bank, and we know that we can get that duplex to $1,700 a month by just updating some things and making it worth the time. So yeah.
Right. I mean, I love it. I think about it all the time, and they're just like, man, he figured it out. He figured it out, man. But I mean, you just have such a wealth of knowledge and experience now, right? And what I love, I tell everybody you should niche down, right? Niche down to be successful, or at least to get started, right? I mean, Tim and I, when we first started, we were looking at different markets and different size properties, and then we found different, we kind of expanded and contrasted and kind of we experimented a bit to try to figure out like what we really wanted to do. And we ended up landing on the Section 8 LIHTC niche, which, is pretty apparent nowadays. But you don't have that, which I think is incredible. Like, how did you kind of diversify into residential and apartments and student housing, not just apartments, just student housing too, also self-storage. And the triple net stuff came from your contracting business, building the subways and the tractor supplies and stuff like that. I mean, that's kind of like a shoehorn, right into that business model because you know it so well.
Right. And I think part of it is the market I'm in because I have to be diverse. I mean, I learned in 08, 09 that I wasn't diverse at all. So I was in flipping houses or wholesaling, whatever the case might be. And it came back and bit me. I mean, basically, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, what do I do now? I have no income. I have none of this stuff going on. And I thought, well, what better way to be more diverse than be in a couple different sectors of the real estate market? So that way, if self-storage does slow down, we still have the residential side. But if residential slows down, we have the self-storage side. I mean, they kind of always equal each other, right? If people are buying a lot of houses, then they're
It's
moving.
like a three-legged stool, as they say.
Absolutely. So I mean, we always have something to lean on if something doesn't. Now the triple net for me has been a new thing. It's not it's not that it's not good, because the people who are paying me is great, but we have one vacant, and it's been vacant for a little while. And that, so I also have the income now to let that sit vacant to find the right tenant, right?
Hmm.
Where if it was the very first property I had,
Oh,
and
you would have been gone bankrupt.
absolutely.
Right.
So I think that, it's kind of like growth steps. Like, okay, we're here, we're here, we're here, and we're just moving to that point. The good thing about it is that, for me, is that I I hired the right people to put in those places now, and I don't deal with those. So I oversee the self storage, but I have somebody deal with the tenants every day. And I hired a property manager that works how she deals with my residential tenants, and I don't deal with that now. So it's easy to plug that back in and add more. And when they've reached their limit, I guess, then we add on to that.
Hmm. Yeah. Hey, Josh, got a question from Josh Harmon. Are you familiar with Olney? Olney? Olney?
All in Illinois, yeah, absolutely. I'm not too far from all in Illinois, actually.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah,
I don't know what's OCC stand for.
all in East Central College, just a little community college there.
Oh, I was thinking Orange County Choppers, but okay.
Yeah, close, close.
Close. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. When we first connect, I don't remember how we first connected, but I remember when you were reaching out and you're just like, dude, how are you doing this? Like, and one of the things that Tim and I pride ourselves on, especially within our coaching group, is the honesty and transparency. And we just opened up the door, opened up the hood and said, well, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is how much we're getting paid. This is how much they're getting paid. This is how much our investors are getting paid. And really started answering a lot of questions that people don't really openly talk about on Facebook, because it's not the right thing to do. You don't want to be blasting out some of these agreements and things that you've done, because it's not really their information to know, and you don't want it all over the social internets, right, or interwebs. But just having somebody to talk to expanded the mindset and the horizon of what's possible. And we didn't disclose anything that was not able to be disclosed, right? There's no like sensitive information. It's just kind of like trade secrets, if you would, that you don't normally divulge to everybody. But we talked about it with Josh, and Josh just took it and ran, man. Like, my goodness, there was a point in time you were closing like a deal a week. It felt like, no money out of pocket, getting cash, getting a check at closing. This guy's selling me that. This guy's selling me this. I bought this, $1 million property for the cost of a roof, because my roofing company only cost me 30 grand or 40 grand. It was just like, dude, what? Like, how are you doing these things? And then, not for nothing. Then, once we finally met in person, and we were at the Mark Evans event, and I was like,
Yep.
dude, you got to meet these people and these people and these people. And you just start introducing people. And now look at you. You're like all over the map.
Yeah, yeah. I mean it, and I mean, I'm 100% believer that relationship is huge in this business. And I honestly, I mean, that wasn't in my small market. I mean, there's nobody doing what we do.
No,
So
absolutely not.
until I started
That
meeting, like,
that crab mentality has got to be more prevalent than ever in your market, because
oh yeah.
it's that market where nobody's going to be doing better than they ever was.
Yeah, and that goes along with everything. Like, even talking to the banks. I mean, the banks think that a landlord is a person who's going to buy 10 properties and let them pay off in 20 years, and then they're going to live off that the rest of their life. And that's not the business we're building, right?
Mm-mm.
And so the problem with that is that there's a lot of education on top of that. And I think that the mentality, I had to grow myself before I could educate those people. And I had to get around people like you and Tim and the people at the Mark Evans event and other people that I've met.
And I know, I see you're in the capital. What?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Damn. What?
Capitalist Cartel with Caleb.
Capitalist Cartel. Yeah, you're in
Yeah.
that group too. I mean, dude, like the
Yeah.
power of association is above all. And
Absolutely.
recently I posted in my Facebook stories that I joined. It's a private club here in Wilmington that just opened, and it was not cheap to get into it. But
Yeah.
literally the first day, like I went there and I took a tour of it, and I was like, I need to surround myself, because I was always looking for money for deals, right? Deals
Right.
and money. That's what grows our business. I was like,
Absolutely.
okay, well, where am I going to go hang out with people that have money? Well, it's going to be a private club. And
Yeah.
so I joined this private club. Literally the day that I'm there, I'm meeting like the owner of these fancy restaurants in town, and I'm talking to like all these different people that are all members. And it's just the power of association and relationships above all else is what's going to traject you to the next level. And
Yep.
what got you to where you are today and what got me to where I am today is not what's going to get me to the next level. And
Absolutely.
in order to get access to check writers that write 8-figure checks instead of 7-figure checks, you got to change your circle, change your surroundings. And that's exactly what I was doing. And yeah, it was uncomfortable, right? It was uncomfortable for change. It was uncomfortable. I feel like I'm out of place because I don't belong in that group.
Right.
That's the feeling that I'm like chasing now, right? So
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
dude, you like your comments about how you change yourself and you change your mindset are everything. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if if you've never done a deal, if you're at like kind of where Tim and I are at, if you're at where Josh is at in his markets, there's always another level to being uncomfortable. And you
Correct.
always have to push and strive for that. And I practice what I preach. I mean, I'm openly talking about joining this club and feeling inadequate, like I've outpunched my ticket. I shouldn't belong here. That's exactly how I knew where I should be.
Yeah, and that's 100%. I agree with 100% because the thing about it is that when you feel comfortable, you'll never grow.
No,
And
yes,
so
exactly.
you have to get into rooms that make you feel uncomfortable. That are people are doing stuff that you're like, I never even thought of that. And my baby step was just joining your guys's group, and I was like, okay, what? I'm not a syndicator by any means, but the information I got from you guys pushed me to that next level.
Hmm.
And then and I still get little things from you guys. I'm like, okay, wow, just the underwriting of something I might have missed, and be able to take that to a bank is an education level that most bankers have never seen. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
one of my favorite things about our coaching group is our underwriting calls.
Yes,
I love it. We do it every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Oh, Jesus,
10 a.m.
I'm getting all my stuff mixed up, man. It's Tim
Yeah,
and Tim Tuesdays at 10, but then we do our underwriting call at 2 p.m. Eastern time in our coaching group. And man, when I see those light bulbs go off, just like, wait a second, what?
yeah,
Like that moment right there is just like oh yes. I mean, it happens to me. It happens for everybody else in the room. I am no expert. I'm continually learning and growing myself, and I'm just sharing the information that I have and ideas that I have. And sometimes those ideas actually work. And I mean, we looked at a couple JV deals, and I was like, well, what if you structure it this way? And it was like, whoa, what a game changer. I
right.
mean, one of the guys that we buy deals from, and he's like a coach and a mentor to us. He was like, well, why don't you do it this way regarding the debt? And I was just like, oh my God, now look at the returns. Like, people are going to love this deal. And lo and behold, we were able to raise like, it was like $6 million, no problem. Because, one sentence that one guy told me once that I implemented into what I'm practicing made all the difference.
Yeah,
Right.
and for me is getting in that room with you now. Now that just flows down, right? It's just
It
like a
does.
river because that value just keeps on coming. And so I feel like that if you're going to find somebody to invest in or invest your time in, you have to find out the person who's investing into themselves.
Right.
Because, and I know that you and Tim do that all the time, is you're always investing in yourselves. And that just helps me grow my business every day. And so I can't
But
speak.
dude, it's a big web. I mean, so like,
Absolutely.
we invest in ourselves in different groups. Like, Tim and I are both part of GoBundance, which we absolutely love, but that's connected with a whole different kind of breed of people. You're in the Capitalist Cartel group, in the Mark Evans DM group. And like when we get on our calls together and we're talking, your experiences and knowledges have changed, your perception has changed, and it makes for wonderful conversation. And we're saying all of this not to like boost anybody's groups or say one is
No,
better than the other. It's just showing you that the more you expand yourself and you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and you surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to be doing, then you're going to inherently attract new and different information to you that is going to change and grow and develop over time. So like what we talk about is different than what we talked about 2 years ago. Now it's
oh,
completely
absolutely.
different. And
Oh,
I appreciate the perspective that you bring because you're connected to all these other people that I'm not connected to, right?
yep.
And it's just, information, it's just like the connections just continue to spiderweb and continue to grow, and that just helps everybody.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean, this business is not, if you stand still and get comfortable in this business, you'll die off because
Yeah.
I mean it's there's so much new information out there. Things are changing so much, and you just have to have the right people surrounding you, right? You're as you grow, your circle has to grow, and if your circle's not growing, you're going to feel lonely really quick.
Well, it's exactly why you closed up your contracting business,
Yeah,
right? I mean, you got to pivot. You said payroll costs were going up, material costs were going up, stress was going up,
yeah,
every profitability was going down. It's like, why am I going to continue to do this? I've associated myself with people that are far more successful than me that don't do this, but yet I'm still doing this. Why?
right,
Right?
yeah.
And it's challenging the status quo, having other people ask you why. Like, Josh, I have no vested interest in your business, but tell me why you do. What is
Right.
this serving you? How is this getting you what you want to achieve?
Yeah.
Is this, or is it just like a simple identity crisis of, well, this is what I've always done? Well, and that's what you're trying to find. You're
Right.
trying to find that, like, it's like that Inception, the little top that he spins. You're trying to find that little top where you
Yep.
can pinpoint that one thing and say, well, what is this doing? And then the whole thing unravels, right? Because you're like, well, wait a second, nobody's ever asked me that before.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? How many people do we know that's been stuck in a job for 20 years and,
Oh,
and hated it?
too
You
many.
know, and 20 years later, they're like, man, alive. If I would have just stepped out of my comfort zone, if I would have stopped going to work at 4 o'clock to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so I appreciate you guys and everything you guys have done for me, and because it's just pushed me to that next level. And then I found more people to push me to the next level, and any information that just feeds through that is just great because
I think that's also important, is that there are different coaches and different people that are going to be important in your life at different times, right?
absolutely.
And it's like, like people say that the space is saturated. No, it's not.
No,
It's not saturated because everyone brings different experiences at a different point in time. And
absolutely.
if you started out as like a beginner's coach, and then 5 years later you kind of get tired of being a beginner's coach, and you start moving up, and the people that you started with that were beginners 5 years later, they're not beginners, and you're still hanging out with them, like
Yeah,
you're all growing and developing together. So now, if you think about it, 10 years later, if you're somebody new that's coming into the space, looking at what Tim and I and Josh are doing, they're gonna be like, dude, that's unachievable, right? Like it's not possible to do what they're doing because they've been doing it for 10 years. So
right.
it's like the coaching is cyclical as well. Like you're going to grow and kind of develop with the coaches that are kind of coaching during your time frame, and also, being introduced to different groups and things like that. So,
Yeah, and I think you have to check yourself also, because if you're not saying that you can't be in that same group,
oh,
but if
sure.
but if you're stuck in that same group 2 or 3 years later down the road and you haven't surpassed that, I think that you need to check yourself because you're probably not taking action, right?
Mastermind groups and coaches and circles and all of that have an end date.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
They all have an end date, because at a certain point in time, you're gonna be like, I've been hanging out with Tim long enough. I know exactly what he's gonna say, or I generally know what he's gonna do or how he's gonna look at it. If I'm looking for that type of advice, I'm gonna call him. Right.
absolutely. Yeah, because
But
I've
I'm
built that
looking for
relationship.
something that's different than what I know now, and then you start looking for that, right? And it's like, okay, well, it's coaching groups are not it's not a singular thing, right? It's not like I am not part of one group. You are not part of one group. All the
Absolutely.
people I'm connected to are not part of one group, because each one is going to give you something different.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing is I mean, as we grow, our circle has to grow. And
Has to.
if it does not grow, then obviously you're doing something wrong. And so, I mean, that's over the years, I can look at the different things that I've done, and I'm like, okay, 24 units. When I got my first 24 units, I was like, oh my goodness, this is hard. This is tough. But now I don't even know about 24 units. I mean, if
Yeah.
we had 24 units, that's nothing. But when I first came to you guys, I mean, we probably had maybe 30 doors at the time, no self storage, no commercial
Yeah.
properties. I was just stuck. I was stuck at a plateau. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get anybody else to finance me. I don't know how I'm going to add any more properties. I was trying to do it all myself, right? And
And
I was
you were and I remember you were like trying to supplement your business. You were adding
like,
work in order to supplement your business to keep it going. And what do I mean by that? Josh literally told me, I bought 2 flips this week so that I can flip these to keep my guys busy, and also make sure that I can pay payroll on that same company.
yeah,
I was like, wait a second. So like you're just breaking even and you're just staying busy.
that's it.
The profitability, is it there? I'm like,
We were
oh,
busy, not profitable.
yeah,
Let's put it that way.
busy. Oh, super
Yeah,
busy.
we were very busy. So I mean, that's once I got through that plateau breaking point and just moved on, and then we had exponential growth, and then
Hmm.
things just started happening because it was a mindset change, and
Yeah.
without having you and Tim Vest and people in our life to help us get past that point, we would have never we would have still been at 30
Oh
doors.
man, I appreciate it. I love it, man. I know I can sit here and talk with you forever. I mean, we just roll, dude. When are you gonna fly out to Wilmington? I know you were here once, and you told
Yeah.
me when you were gone. And I was like, wait a
Yeah,
second,
no,
that's not
no,
how
I
this works.
definitely eventually, man, that's the whole goal, right? The whole goal is buy a big, faster plane and be able to just travel and just meet more people, man. That's the whole
Yeah,
goal.
yeah,
And
but faster plane so you can get home faster to your wife and kids.
Well, that's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah. But no, it's good, man. And being a pilot, it just opened up a whole nother,
Yeah.
realm for us.
Dude, you make me want to become a pilot just because like I see how the freedom there and like,
Oh man.
dude, Tim and I, we own a lot of stuff all over the Southeast. And it's like, man, if I could go visit multiple properties in a single day and then still be home instead
Absolutely.
of, driving 6 hours to go one place. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a second, like if I could fly there in an hour and then there and there and there and there and then be home, maybe it's an 8 to 10 hour day, but man, I'm really covering some ground.
Dude, and not going through TSA and not
Oh,
going through all this other stuff you
I've
have to go
flown
through.
private a couple of times and it is,
It's amazing, isn't it?
it is pretty amazing. It's like,
It
it's
changes.
like going to the yacht club, right? You just walk out on the dock and get on your boat and go.
That's it. That's it. So it's amazing. But yeah, it's good. And just it's just a different lifestyle once
Yeah.
you get
Oh,
to that.
totally.
And you can buy stuff that most people wouldn't buy, because obviously a 2 or 3 hour drive would not be worth their time to manage something where for me it's a 25-minute plane ride. Right.
Right. Not that big of a deal anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, all right, Josh, so let me ask you something. A lot of people are like, dude, Josh, you're killing it. You're crushing it. I love your creative financing and I love how much growth you've had, this, that, and the other thing. Tell us a time where you almost quit.
Man,
Mm.
that actually happens more often than what you think.
I know it does. Trust me.
So,
I know it does.
yeah. So actually, honestly, probably fall last year. I mean, we had a lot of deals that we thought were going to happen, didn't happen. We had some banks that were starting to, and I'm like, you know what? Would it be better just to stop growing and just pay off what we have and just sit here and just collect checks? I mean,
Nah.
I was, but that's not how I'm built, right?
No.
And if I'm not finding new opportunities, then I get bored. I'm just gonna be real honest. I get bored. So, but I would say that it happens quite often, and that's why I'm in rooms, because I can bounce those ideas off people. I'm like, what do you think? Like, am I thinking about this wrong? And most of the time I am. Most of the time it's a mindset. Something has changed. Something has got stuck. There's a block. There's something in there that I'm like, okay, man, alive. The anxiety of maybe something going wrong. I mean, how many times do we not take risks because we're like, oh man, we don't even know it's not going to turn out bad or good, and we won't even take the risk because of that, right? So I think that it happens quite often, and there's a lot of no's and a lot of negative stuff in this business. There's a lot of times you get I should not say bad information, but just bad. Somebody call you and say, hey, we can't do that. And you're like, oh man, I've been working on this for 6 weeks, and now you say you can't do this. And so,
that one just hit a pressure point for me.
yeah. So for us, I mean, if we're not surrounded with people who can actually keep that motivation going, whether it's a partner or whether it's a group or whether it's a coach or whatever the case might be, man, there's days that I wake up and I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't for me.
Dude, like I can't agree with you more. I mean, it gets lonely at the top is what they say.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to find a circle of people that you can talk to when things are difficult, because what you think is a problem today, somebody has already been through and can say, dude, what you're going through is not a problem. Just do this and you'll be fine. And sometimes you just need that. Like you're borrowing somebody else's experience because you trust them, and just kind of almost at a point, sometimes you're following them blindly because you just don't know what else to do. And it works out. Right. And that's the benefit of being surrounded with the people that are doing what you want to be doing, because, it's the things that you're struggling with today, somebody has gone through already. We as real estate guys are not reinventing the wheel. I mean, it's been around for so long, right? I mean, and you say it's different problems. It's not different problems. You have bank problems, investor problems, and operations problems.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone's been through those three things just at different times and different circulations. Right. And man, that 6-week thing just hit a nerve for me, because we were going through a refinance, working with this bank for better part of 6 weeks. Literally 2 days before the balloon payment due, we're not going to do the loan anymore. Yeah. So I'm freaking out, scrambling. I couldn't even think straight. And, I had to call a couple people, and they were like, dude, just call this person, tell them so-and-so, ask them what they can do for you. And like, it turned out to be okay, and it'll be fine. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's because, I was able to talk to somebody else in my circle and say, this is what I'm going through. What do I do? They were able to provide that level of advice.
Yes. And that's 100%. I mean, so yeah, I would say that, you have to surround yourself with people who's doing what you want to do, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to keep you going.
Yeah. Totally.
Pure motivation sometimes runs out.
Yeah, dude, it does, man. People talk about your why all the time, and it's when it's your kids, it's financial freedom, it's this, that, and the other thing. Sometimes it's just being dragged along by your peers,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
sometimes all of that, none of that matters. You're just like, dude, you just need somebody to kick me in the ass and say, hey, like this, what you're doing is not a problem, right? Stop crying
Right.
about
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
it. All right, Josh, we're out of time today. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on and doing the show today. How can people get in touch with you if they want to learn more about what you do, how you do it, how you structure your deals, how you find success in these smaller markets?
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, I'm on social media, so Facebook's the biggest thing for me. Josh Harms, just look me up. Other than that, I mean, you can DM me through there, and that's the best way. So you follow me. I mean, I try to post daily and try to do at least a video a week, and so kind of just show you what I do in my small markets, and it's nothing sexy about it, but hey, we're making things happen, right?
Making money, man, making
Right.
moves. Like as long as you're moving your feet, you're making moves.
That's right.
So, all right, Bonnie, I'll see you later.
I'll see you.
Peace.
Peace.